Hey guys, hey, it's Chuck here. Another episode of Hillside. Look, that's 2 weeks in a row I got it right now. So anyway, so since in honor of the Cardinals playing the first game of the National League Championship Series, I'd like to share a joke that my buddy Cardinal fan shared with me just a few minutes ago across the hall here. So, what would Ernie Banks have said if he was a Cardinals fan? He would have said, "Let's win 2 today." Ooh. No. So anyway, hey, good luck to the Cardinals tonight. I'm obviously a huge Cubs fan, but, you know, I'm a Central League fan, so got to root for them. I hope they can go all the way, win it. I'd like to see a win from my buddies, you know. That's just how life should be, you know. I'm a Cubs fan, they're a Cardinals fan. You know, I have my team, they have their team. But, you know, in times we can come together and root for the same common goal, for the Central Division to win the World Series, or for the Cardinals to win. It doesn't have to be like, oh, nope, I don't like the Cardinals in the regular season, I'm not going to root for them in the postseason. I'm just not that kind of guy. I'm a diehard Cubs fan, love them to death. But anytime the Central Division, I don't care what team they are, if they're in the championship, in the playoffs, I'm going to root for them because I'm a Cubs fan first, but then I'm also a Central Division fan as well. So, today, we're going to talk about the Misfit Kingdom. And what do you mean by that? Well, what do I mean by that? Now, what do you mean by that? You want to know what I mean by that. Hey, Vicky, how you doing? What's up? Go Cardinals. So, anyway, the Greek poet Jose wrote, "If you tell me who you love, I can tell you who you are." Max Lucado, hopefully everybody knows who he is, wrote, "The sign of the saved is their love for the least." And then another quote that I really like is from Dr. Charles Swindoll, and it says, "You can tell a lot about a person by the way they treat those who can do nothing for them." You know, there's a story about a gentleman named John Blanchard that I came across that I'd like to read to you and share with you to kind of try to set the mood for the conversation today. John Blanchard stood up from the bench, straightened his army uniform, and studied the crowd of people making their way through Grand Central Station. He looked for the girl whose heart he knew, but face he didn't. He would know her by a rose. His interest in her had begun 13 months before in a Florida library. Taking a book off the shelf, he found himself intrigued, not with the words of the book, but with the notes penciled in the margin. The soft handwriting reflected a thoughtful soul, an insightful mind, and then in front of the book he discovered that the previous owner's name was Miss Hollis Maynell. With time and effort, he located her address. She lived in New York City. He wrote her a letter introducing himself and invited her to correspond. The next day, he was shipped overseas for service in World War II. During the next year and a month, the two grew to know each other through mail. Can you imagine mail? Not email, not text messages, not Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever else they got out there. Mail. He had to write a letter, mail it, send it across the sea, travel to her house. She had to write back, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it. I know a lot of young people out there don't know what envelopes and stamps are anymore, but they were very important back then. And you'll have to send it a long journey back across the ocean. They would have to go find John in the war and bring him this letter. So it's just amazing that whole dynamic of staying in touch, being so far away is just mind-blowing to me in this day and age of I can sit here and talk to people on my iPad right here. I can text people on my phone. It's instant communication now. It's not this got to send a letter and wait for a response. Now it's instantaneous. So they began writing each other, and soon a romance started budding. Blanchard requested a photograph, but she refused. She felt that if he really cared, it wouldn't matter what she looked like. So when the day finally came for him to return from Europe, they scheduled their first meeting at Grand Central Station in New York. You'll recognize me, she said, by the red rose I'll be wearing on my lapel. So Mr. Blanchard says in his own words, he says, a young woman was coming towards me. She had blonde hair, which lay back in curls. Her eyes were blue, and her chin held a gentle firmness, and she was wearing a pale green suit that was like springtime come alive. I started towards her, entirely forgetting to notice that she was not wearing a rose. As I moved, a smile appeared on her lips. Going my way, sailor, she murmured. Almost uncontrollably, I made one step closer to her, and then I saw Miss Maynell. She was standing almost directly behind this woman, and who had gray hair tucked under a worn hat. She just goes on to describe her. The girl in the green suit was walking away quickly. As I felt I was split in two, so many, and there she stood. Her face was gentle and sensible. Her gray eyes had a warm and kindly smile to it. I did not hesitate. My finger gripped the small worn leather book of the copy of the book that was to identify me to her. That would not be love, but it would be something precious, perhaps even more than love, a friendship for which I have been and must ever be grateful for. So it's just exciting that we can have connections with people that we've never even met, that just come across our paths, directly or indirectly. I mean, these letters that these guys wrote to each other helped John get through the war, and just the words of encouragement and just these moments of hey, hearing his name called when it was mail call. How exciting was that for these guys, I'm sure, to have their name called and to have somebody think at some point in the last few months, because I'm sure it took a few months to get the letters there, somebody was thinking about me. Somebody was thinking about me enough to write me a letter. And to not only write me a letter, but to begin the process of sending this letter thousands of miles away to encourage somebody, to connect with somebody, to love somebody. And I think in this day and age when it's just so easy that we walk by each other now, we're doing this, we're looking down on our phones, I'm guilty, checking Facebook, checking whatever, that we've lost that connection, we've lost that process to connect with each other. And, it's just, I just find it very fascinating to read the old times, how people connected with each other. It says Jesus says, if you welcome misfits, if you welcome the least of these, if you spend time with them, you will be blessed. It just goes to show. The one guy says, I will never forget how much the faith of misfits can bless us. I learned one day when my best friend Carl invited me to a late breakfast, a lunch if you will be. We were traveling west on 7th Street in Joplin, Missouri. Carl was driving and I was eagerly awaiting the trip to McDonald's. A few blocks from the Golden Arch, out the passenger window, we saw Miss Posey. Dispose? Do you know her? Miss Posey she was a familiar figure around Joplin. If you didn't know her, she was homeless. One to look at it would tell you so. But she was waving to all the cars, obviously the fact that no one knew her, and she was still showing joy to people. So here's this woman who didn't have anything, but yet she was trying to connect with people through a wave. It's just amazing. I mean, it's just fascinating to me that when we try to make connections with each other, no matter what scenario or what mode we use, it's fascinating. It's just wonderful. It makes your head turn and wonder, And so it's just amazing that she would just stand out there and just wave at people and just try to bring joy to people she didn't even know, And if we welcome the least of these, if we walk with them, the kingdom will expand. And of course, Jesus was not just talking about a temporary dinner. He was talking about the great supper of the Lamb that we'll celebrate in heaven. when we bring at least one of these in and we make a connection with people and we tell them about the love of God and they just are presented with that, and it changes their lives. It changes their destiny. It adds a table at a chair at the table for them. Connections here on earth aren't just momentary connections, I believe. They're opportunities to make lifetime, eternal connections, and we've got to just be able to recognize that and see that when people are placed into our lives, it's not always just a glancing moment. Sometimes that moment can lead into a lifetime of moments. If not with us, with other people. It kind of just, it's like that game Pong. I don't know if you guys ever remember. The first game I ever owned was Pong. And had these two little round knobs, two little paddles, and this light would come. And depending on the angle that you hit the light would determine the angle that it returned to the other side. And you kept doing this, and the angle would change every time you made contact with this light. So every time we make contact with somebody in our lives or we make contact in their life, we could be changing the trajectory of that light that's in them. Instead of the light going down, they make contact with us, and then all of a sudden their trajectory starts going up. And it changes. It's just amazing, because if you just put the paddles at the top and you didn't try to make contact, the light would just disappear. It would go away because it doesn't have anything to contact with. It doesn't have anything that kind of helps push, the trajectory upward. So it's just amazing to me that we just, I wish we could just see the spiritual moment of a contact. What Jesus is really trying to work in this moment, so many different scenarios, it just, there was a woman, who was struggling and, who just thought life was over. She had just been diagnosed with cancer. She didn't have any family to speak of. She felt alone. She was just desperate for healing and desperate for answers. And, and then a volunteer at the hospital, just started seeing over the different times that she was in the cancer ward getting her treatments, and nobody came and sat with this woman. And he just said, I remember the sadness on her face, the sadness. And I said, I just couldn't take it anymore. He said, so I went up and introduced myself to her and, began a conversation. And every time she came in, I would sit with her and talk with her. And he said after a few weeks, it was like that light inside of her that was going down, down into depression and whatever because of the physical things she was going through, that light. But with the contact that he made, that he chose to make, he knocked her light and it started going up. And her mindset started changing and her physical health started changing, and it's amazing. We've got to make contact with those that are the least of these, that are struggling with stuff, because God welcomed us in our moment of being a misfit. He welcomed us, and it's just a wonderful thing, because we can't be that guy who gets forgiven an insurmountable debt and then go out and demand such a small thing from somebody that owes us something so minuscule. What has been given us to us, that paddle that God used to project our light upward in Jesus, is the same paddle that we need to help project other people's light to Jesus. Luke 15:1-7, he talks about, he ate with sinners. He ate with tax collectors. He ate with people the society deemed unworthy. How many times did people drive by Miss Posey as she was waving at them, trying to cheer them up? How many times did they probably drive by and go, oh, look, there's that homeless woman again. She's annoying. She's always out there waving. Why is that? Why is she always out there waving? And instead of appreciating and saying, oh my gosh, look at this. This woman has nothing, but can still find joy. That's real joy. When you feel like you have nothing and you can have joy in the morning, no matter what the night brought or what the day's planned, you can still bring joy. And it's exciting. And Jesus knew that. And those were the people that Jesus came. He came for all of humanity, absolutely. He wants us all to be saved. But he came for those who were deemed a cast out, a castaway. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. I want to try to be as welcoming to everybody as I can. I want to love everybody, because you just don't know when that moment is going to be about. You don't know what that moment's going to produce for each one of us, and how we can help them. There's countless stories. One of my favorite stories of all time. One of my favorite musicians is Tracy Chapman. Her story was so phenomenal. Google it. Do the backstory. She has this awesome fast car. When growing up and this song came out, this was a long-haired, heavy metal, thrashing about, earrings in both ears, nose ring, just a mess. Listening to Tracy Chapman, because it's just such a powerful song about contact and about how hope and opportunity always exists, even when it doesn't seem that way. Because she was playing guitar in the subway of New York. The subway of New York, just playing, homeless, playing for change, playing for anything she could get. And I don't know why this guy decided to take the train that day, but here's the owner of Sony, the bigwig of Sony Records. Bigwig. And I know it's God. I know it had to be God. God has everything planned out for a reason. So he gets off the train at this stop where she's playing, and he's listening to her play and sing, and he immediately offers her a record deal. Doesn't say, hey, let's come in and demo. Let's come in and see, what you sound like, recorded. I mean, he was so moved by her voice and that song that he knew that he had to put it on record. And that contact, that paddle that he used, her light was going, bounced off of him because he took time to make contact and to interact and to get to know her. Her light went up and up and up and up and up. And not only did she change her life through this song, but she went on to help change so many other people's lives through UNICEF, through Amnesty International. I mean, she gave back what she was given. And that's amazing. Now, if that guy would have just walked by and thrown a couple pennies in and been like, that sounds okay. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So here's this woman playing guitar, homeless. This guy who has an opportunity to change that stops and picks her up. Boy, doesn't that sound like Jesus? We were homeless, destitute, without a father. Jesus walks by, the one that can give us hope and change. And he stops, and instead of throwing a couple bucks in the thing and saying, have a nice life, he reaches down and picks us up, and he changes us. And then she took that change that she experienced, and she went to help change other people's lives? See how that one momentary contact changed a life and changed so many lives. I mean, it's just powerful to think. It's that ripple effect, you know. I love it. I'm excited when I get to do that, and when I get to just share that with people and get to see people's moments take off. And when they come back and they say, you know what? I got to go bless somebody today. I got to go help somebody today because it was modeled to me, and now I know how to do it for others. You know, Jesus walked this earth for 33 years, had a ministry for 3, spent those 3 years just walking out everything that, you know, that we needed as tools to reach and help other people. You know, what if the disciples had just said, oh, Jesus is gone now. I know he told us to go out and minister, but, you know, I think I'm just going to stay right here. I think I'm just going to go where it's comfortable, you know, the people that I know. You know, what if they didn't spread out? What if they didn't go to Asia Minor and Turkey and Rome and Greece and all the other countries that were in that region at that time? What if they chose not to go out and have those contacts with people in those moments? Oh my gosh. You know, but they chose to take what was given to them in a moment and to pass that on to somebody else so that they can have a moment. And then somebody else can have a moment. And then somebody else can have a moment. And then somebody else can have a moment. And then soon you know, this message of love and hope and salvation and redemption has just spread all over the world in a very short time. And so it's just amazing, you know, it's like, it's crazy, you know. Jesus says he's the door of the truth, you know. You know, I'd like to end this message with a story of a preacher, you know, that, you know, he loved to welcome people to his church. He would get the same hug and the same handshake and the same smile if you'd been a member there for 30 years or if you've been there for 30 minutes. You know, and it's just great because I go to a church like that, and it's phenomenal for me. When I see people at the door greeting, or I see the leaders out in the lobby greeting people, there's no first-time visitors. There's no 30-year attendees there. I mean, yes, there are, but the conversation and the fellowship is the same, and I love it. It's what I think what a picture of heaven's going to be like. You know, people who have been in heaven for 100 years are still going to, you know, get as much love as the guy who just made it through the gate. You know, it's just the love is equal. Love is even, you know. And so when we can rise people up to the same level of love that we received from Christ, lives can change. Things can happen, you know. It's just crazy, you know. You know, John Blanchard said if he had not found love through those letters, he would not have been able to learn how to love the unlovely. You know, you just will miss so much more, you know, when we don't reach out to people and we don't really try to think and see what each moment really truly means. Because each moment can be a life changer. You know, everybody's playing the lottery. Oh, this could be it. This could be the moment that changes my life. They're scratching it off. They're buying the tickets. They're standing in line. They're scratching ticket after ticket after ticket after ticket after ticket, and they're trying to get to that one moment that's going to change their life. You know, and there's people out there that are walking through life that are scratching things, hoping that their life is going to be different. They're trying different things, hoping their life is going to be different. They're looking for different things, hoping their life is going to be different. Until that one moment when they encounter something that they've never encountered before. And that's the love of God. And so it's just amazing, you know, when we can have those moments and we can have all this going on and look and see just how beneficial we can be for each other. So I'd like to close with that and just say, have a great weekend, guys. Go out and love on somebody this weekend. Go out and make a stranger a friend. More importantly, don't make a friend a stranger. Enjoy life. Enjoy each other. I get to hang out. I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm super excited. I get to hang out with my grandbabies tomorrow. Mom's a little nervous. Don't be nervous. We won't do any Evil Knievel stuff. Maybe just a little, I got the extra sugar and Kool-Aid ready. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about hanging out with my grandbabies because they just, oh my gosh. I think they just look at you like God looks at us. They just look at you like full of love and innocence and just joy. And oh man, I can't wait. I'm bringing out my lightsaber. EJ loves the lightsaber. He'll grab it and just walk around the house with it. I was like, man, you turned to the dark side too fast. But that's all right. So anyway, so have a great weekend. Have a great Sunday. It's supposed to be really cold this weekend. Go Illini. Go Cardinals. Go Irish. Oh, I know. Did I say go? I did say go Cardinals out loud. But it's Central Division. We got to root for them, right? Right, Vicky? Right, Mona? Right, Cam? Look, I got all Cardinal fans watching me right now. All Cardinal fans. Oh, boy. Woo! So anyway, have a great week, guys. I love you guys. See ya.